What's going on? How everybody doing? This is Bubba. Brazil, bring Bubba back. Brazil, bring Bubba back. And welcome to another walk and talk video where I talk everything about Brazil and about living back here in America ever since leaving Brazil. Hope everybody doing well. Hope everybody's blessed, you know, not stressed, all that good stuff, doing what you want to do, doing what y'all need to do. Hope everybody is living out their dreams and purposes, etc., etc. Yeah, so man, what I want to talk about today is is the cost of living here in the US. Is it preventing a lot of people from working with each other? And what I mean by working with each other, cooperating in terms of, you know, building communities, just creating a more perfect society, in a sense, that makes sense. But has, in other words, has the cost of living here in the States created what we now know as a dystopian type of society, you know, where we're no longer being cooperative with each other, but we're competing against each other for every single resources. Now, don't get me wrong, since the beginning of time, there's always been competition. But at the same time, especially with competition for resources, but at the same time, resources back then were, I wouldn't say plentiful, but there was enough to go around. But unfortunately, somewhere throughout history, especially when a lot of resources like land and a few other commodities start to become privatized, I think this is where the disconnect or the trouble began, in terms of how people are working against each other just to get resources. Because I still believe there's plenty of resources to go around. And like I said, because of profit and because of privatization, whether it's land, whether it's oil, butter, houses, whatever, has turned it seems like every individual against each other. And it also seems like it's turning individuals that's within the same community, the same background, the same culture, against each other. Prime example, let's look at the job market. Let's look at the economy. You know, back when my parents were brought up, my grandparents were brought up, you know, we still had communities. So where traditionally you had the men, the males, would be like my grandfather, you know, like my father, uncle, brother, what have you. The men would go, they would get a job, whether it's in the factory, whether it's out there in the field, farming, whatever. They would get a job. And that job, you know, they understood that, hey, I'm the man here. I need to provide and protect my family. So they get a job, and that job will provide for that family, protect the family. And the woman, whether it's your mother, grandmother, aunt, niece, whatever, etc., sister, she knew that since the man was out, she had to take care of the family through, you know, whether it's the cooking, the cleaning, things like that. Just making sure children was off to school, you know, make sure, you know, they was prepared, go to school every day, things like that. The roles were understood. And from an economy standpoint, things had so much flow back then, because each gender knew their role and responsibility. They knew the importance of cooperation. You know, it wasn't, even though the male was the leader of the household, it was implied, it was, you know, it was understood that the man, the woman had to work together. Husband and wife still had to work together to keep the family together, to keep it intact, so they can maintain the resources that they have. Because again, like I said, resources are still plentiful. But once, like I say, things became commoditized, things became heavily profitized. I don't know if that's a word, but when profit became a motive, when privatization became a motive, when, like I say, everything became commoditized, I think that's where the whole division occurred. Another example, the whole tax system. I really believe that now these days, a lot of us are competing against each other because of perceived lack of resources. But I think in addition to that, you have to remember, the US is broke, the United States is broke, America is broke. There is no, I think it's 33 something trillion dollars of debt this country owes to whoever. And our tax system was created, especially the income tax was created to provide, to create workers to help pay off this debt. And like I said previously in previous videos, America works like a corporation. So you have different departments, just like in any corporation. You have different departments. You have your marketing department, you know, you like you say, sales, research, development. You have your financial department, whatever. And they use these departments, especially with your advertising, your PR department, your marketing department. They'll use that, you know, in the form of your politicians, because politicians are your salesmen or saleswomen, women. They're your people. And whatever the product or problem that the corporation needs to give out to the people, sell to people, they use the marketing department to do that. So one of the biggest sale points that America has used, corporations have used, you know, funneled through politicians, was that everybody should become equal in the sense of having working employment. You know, everybody being fully employed, having a job, which, yes, it's important, but like I said, going back to what I said earlier, it's all about cooperation. It's all about community building. It's not about competition. But what they did was they sold a lot of different groups the idea of, hey, you need a job, you need to become independent. Keyword, independent. Now independence, that's different from what we say, what, cooperation, because independence is equals individualism in this society. So I think that's what the mistake a lot of us made, was we equated independence with individuality, and we took that to every aspect of our lives here in America, where unfortunately we have our own brothers and sisters fighting for the same jobs. They call it competition, right? Being competitive, being competent. But not only that, we're fighting against other groups, because these other groups also been fed the lie that independence and equals individuality. But true independence is based on community, based on cooperation. So I think that's where we failed that first part. So that right there is what you see right now going on in the States, where you have you might be competing against this woman, or this woman might be competing against this man, whether he's black, white, whatever. And well, before that, since I'm black, I just use this example. Now if I go apply for a job, of course, like I say, there's no really sense of community now, since we're in a world where anybody from anywhere in the world can apply for that same job, which is crazy, which is really crazy. So I'm not only competing against my fellow person that has the same color skin tone, but I'm also competing maybe somebody overseas that's maybe, I wouldn't say more qualified, but even if they are more qualified, they're overseas. And more than likely, especially if it's like, and we're in the digital age, more than likely they might get hired, because again, this is a corporation. So every corporation wants to satisfy the bottom line. So by doing that, you have to either cut costs or hire cheap labor. But so unfortunately, a lot of those people overseas, different groups, are looked at as cheap labor. So they will hire those from other particular places around the world before they will hire somebody here, right here in the States. That's a Native American, not like indigenous, but just this American that's been here, American citizen that's been here for, I say, for a whole bunch of generations, like myself. They will hire those, like I say, that's overseas before they will hire us. And we have to compete against them. We have to compete against a whole bunch of groups. Now, what's crazy is that I used to live in Brazil. And in Brazil, a lot of the jobs, anything, whatever, will go to Brazilians. It don't matter where you came from. I mean, if you a foreigner like myself, if I try to get a job, no, I won't get it. I don't care how qualified I am for that particular job. I will not get a job before a Brazilian get that same job. And like I said, I might be less qualified. But that's the difference, like I said, between America and other Western societies are like that too. But that's the difference between America and a lot of the rest of the world. So therefore, we are competing. We're competing. It's unnecessary competition because we're trying to satisfy the corporations, their bottom line. And I think there's something definitely wrong about that. I think we've been lied, we've been misled about that type of competition, where we pretty much are individuals. We're pretty much like living in a movie with, like, I guess what they call like Squid Games or Logan's Run or Hunger Games. We're literally living in a time of Hunger Games right now. And it's only really benefiting, like I say, the corporations, the elite. And we've been hoodwinked, we've been bamboozled into believing that competition is good. I think, what's the mogul industrial revolution, Rockefeller, John David Rockefeller, didn't he say competition is good, or is a sin, something like that? But he said it in a sense where it's pretty much as bad as evil, and that's what it really is, you know. So I truly believe, just the way things are set up here, everything right now is designed to create division, extreme competition, and just a rugged sense of desperation in an attempt to get a lot of these resources, you know, get a lot of these resources that I believe still is plentiful here, but we've been tricked to believe that the resources here are running out, and we have to fight against each other to get those resources. That's why I'm a strong believer of competition. That's why when I go to Brazil, I still see the sense of community. I still see the sense of, hey, family, each person knows their particular role. Not in a demeaning way, because we get that twisted. Not in a demeaning way, but they understand the value of working together, a family, of community building. Because think about it, a lot of those places around the world like Brazil, they're not rich in terms of, you know, the GDP, the wealth. It's not there. So here we have the leisure to have $1 million and not need to depend on anybody else. That's what us having the reserve, natural reserve, the world reserve currency affords us. But everywhere else, everybody still has a dependent on their family. They can reach out to other people for around their community, around their family for other things. We don't have that luxury here no more. And it's like I said, it's been designed to be that way. So when I see the prices of everything going up, you know, the job market being scarce, a lot of jobs being cut, that's just another, how can I put it? That's just another stage, another level in the playing of our Squid Games being created, in the playing of our Hunger Games being created. And like I say, it's done intentionally. It's done intentionally. So I want to say this, man, we definitely just take a look back and just ask yourself, man, I mean, what you're doing, is it really necessary? Is it gonna help not only yourself, but is it gonna help you, like, in the future, in terms of building a community, in terms of, like they say, they want to create a legacy, having children, but you know what I'm saying, you competing against maybe your potential wife or husband, whatever, for that job. You're fighting, you have to, hate to say it, you know, it's like, okay, I may have to eliminate this person so I can get this job, and I'm gonna let y'all read between the lines when I say that. Take it for, you know, what it is. But what do I have to do to get rid of this person so I can get this job? But that's the position where we at right now, and it's dangerous right now. It's really dangerous, because we are in a time where, you know, the jobs are being cut. The resources, although plentiful, are just being transferred and allocated to only a small few. And if you look at history, the same things that I just told you are happening back in history. So I'm gonna leave that at that. I'm gonna leave that there. But yeah, but no, tell me what y'all think. Y'all think the cost of living, the way the standards of living here in the States, have really caused this division now, where everybody is just competing against for the small few resources? And I say small few resources because the resources are being grabbed, sucked up by, you know, pause if you have to, are being grabbed by just a small few, just an elite. So tell me what y'all think, and make sure in the comments, you know, y'all put bring Bubba back, Brazil, bring Bubba back. And yeah, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share this video, man, because I know there's people, you know, that need to hear this, that need to be informed, you know, just need to know what's going on. And on that note, hey, this is Bubba. Till next video, see y'all later. Peace.